It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley's here. We're going to go run down a lot of the latest Windows news, including Log4j patches, antitrust issues over Edge. But then we get serious, maybe not so serious, with Microsoft's Chief Marketing Officer. It's our annual visit from Chris Capossela, coming up next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 755, recorded Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. Chris caps the year. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Podium. Join more than 100,000 businesses that already use Podium to streamline their customer interactions. Get started for free at podium.com/WW or sign up for a paid Podium account and get a free credit card reader. Restrictions apply. And by Andela. Andela is a global talent network connecting innovative companies like yours with quality technical talent so you have more time to focus on your core business. Visit andela.com/4-companies to schedule a complimentary consultation and receive a 2-week no-risk trial with their vetted technical talent. And by userway.org. Userway ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the greatest, latest from Microsoft with the greatest Microsofties, the dynamic duo of Microsoft reportage from allaboutmicrosoft.com, her ZDNet blog. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mary Jo Foley on the right. Woot. On the left, PT Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Today is a very special Windows Weekly.
A Christmas end cap.
Oh, I like it.
Oh,
Oh, very nice. Chris Capossela, Microsoft's Chief Marketing Officer. My voice even breaks when I say it. Chief Marketing Officer is joining us. That's exciting. Our annual visit. How many years have we done this now?
I know. I was trying to think of that too.
It's 5 or something.
5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at least since 2017, 2016, 2015.
Wow.
2015.
Wow. Really?
So
Yeah.
7 years.
1, 2, 3, 4,
6
5,
years.
6. This will be the 7th.
7th.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're not sick of us yet, huh?
Since Windows 10.
Wow.
One of these years.
Remember
they'll be
Windows
like,
10?
Yeah, you know what?
Remember how naive we were then?
Exactly.
So innocent. Well, there's lots to talk with him about, but we do have a full slate of stuff to talk about without him. So this is going to be a busy show. We better get to it.
Yeah.
I saw there's been a discussion over how you pronounce log4j.
Yeah.
Some people actually say, and I always said log4j, but some people say log4j.
Log4j. Yeah, Log4j.
It's not log4j, it's log4j. I've checked.
The guy who invented GIF told us.
No, actually, the guy who writes it, log4j, said I call it log4j. So now we know. But I like it.
He's wrong.
It's
Leo.
kind of a pun. It's also, according to some, the worst vulnerability in a decade. Woo-hoo.
Take that, Intel.
Congratulations.
You thought Meltdown and Spectre were bad? Nope, you had nothing.
Well, Meltdown and Spectre are bad, but the difference is they've not been much exploited because they're hard. It's trivial to exploit log4j because just a malformed URL will do it. And unfortunately, it's very widely run software for logging. Comes from the Apache Foundation, but it's not just with Apache. First discovered with Microsoft's Minecraft servers. Yeah. But now everybody, even iCloud, Amazon, it's all Cisco, everybody.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
It's trivial to exploit, and it gives you full control, arbitrary code execution, and It's already being used.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
it's really kind of hit the trifecta there.
They hit the trifecta of
has.
vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
What's the latest?
And one of the groups using it is Hafnium, which is the Chinese hacking group that was responsible for the Exchange server flaws this year.
They jumped right on this one. Yeah.
They were on it. Yeah. In fact, Microsoft said today, like a lot of different state attacks are happening. They can see from their analysis. So yeah, it's already a big deal.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Did it affect OneDrive?
What did Steve say yesterday?
We did a whole thing on it. It's fascinating. You know, there are a couple of lessons learned here. One, this is a open source project maintained by volunteers, unpaid volunteers, and yet some of the most valuable infrastructure in the world, most of it runs on it.
So I hope that means we're all going to move off open source software, which I think we can all agree is crap. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, so there are some people, you know, you're not the only one who said that. There are some people who say it in seriousness.
Well, I said a joke.
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, credit to the maintainers because they've been working around the clock to fix it. The patch is out.
Right.
Although...
Right. I was going to say, but now everybody else has to take that patch and patch their stuff with it, right?
Yeah. And some of the mitigations are not effective. It's really easy to exploit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's pretty bad.
We just put it at the top because we know a lot of our listeners are IT pros and they're having a heck of a week with this already.
Yeah, this
So you're going to want to stick around for the drink part at the end because...
Exactly. You will.
We're calling it Log for Gin, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Yeah, it's just terrible. So, acknowledgements to all the people who were working long hours to solve this over the weekend. They worked to the volunteers who are fixing Log4j, and wow. You know, I'm just, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a great week, especially right before the holidays. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, I can take this week off. This is great. Yeah. Not so much.
Sometimes people say, oh, the hackers take the Christmas off. You can just relax. No.
Oh, man.
No.
No, that's when the getting's good. Everyone's getting the new devices.
Yeah.
You know, setting them up.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's it. There's nothing else to say, really.
There really isn't much to say, right?
Yeah,
Well, it's not. It's nice that it's not just a Microsoft problem. It's
That's true.
God, yeah.
right. I mean, you know, not to be weird about it, but I mean, you know, a lot of times this year, I think we can agree, any year-end recap should address the fact that it's been kind of a tough year for Microsoft from a security standpoint.
Yeah.
So this is more of it's the whole industry, which is actually, you know, worse, really. But
Ay, caramba.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's the most wonderful time of the year, so there's that.
right.
Ringing the antitrust bells is segment 2.
Yep.
This is that edge. Edge is the gift that keeps on giving.
It is.
Yeah. This is fun for me because it's the combination of two of the worst stories of the past month coming together into one thing.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Which is really neat. So just the first bit. We don't have to spend too much time on this part of it, but Vivaldi founder CEO John Van Techner published a blog post over the weekend complaining about the behavior that Edge is exhibiting in Windows 11. So there's no new information there per se. He goes into great detail about how difficult Microsoft makes it to change your default browser, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's important for the companies that are being harmed in their perception by this that they speak out, you know, whatever. So, okay, fine. But the weirder one to me is consider these two stories that we've discussed in great detail over the past few months. Microsoft made it much more difficult to change the default browser in Windows 11, right? And in some cases made it impossible because there were secret things in the background that would still launch Edge even if you chose, you know, Google or Mozilla or whatever. Microsoft then issued a Windows Insider build. I think it was back in early November, if I'm not mistaken, that blocked the attempts that some had made, like Mozilla and Brave, and then that Edge Deflector third-party utility, to bypass this behavior. And then when confronted by the fact that they were doing this, they said, yeah, no, we know we're doing it, and we're doing it on purpose. So we're going to keep doing it. So if you keep coming out with little workarounds, we're going to keep working around you. I'm like, yikes. And then last week we talked about this kind of interesting circumstance where 2 weeks ago, so a week previous to last week, Microsoft had inserted some language in a blog post where they said that they could update Windows 11 before the second version of Windows 11 in late 2022. And I wrote a post about that, and I wrote it a little more definitively, right? I wrote that Microsoft will update Windows 11, and then I think it was Mark Hackman, sorry. Yep. Mentioned on Twitter, the language isn't that definitive, and he's right. If you go and read it, Microsoft says they could, but Mary Jo and I think we agreed that they almost certainly will. Good news, I was right. They did. They released the first feature update to Windows 11 yesterday as part of Patch Tuesday. That feature is the blocking of the workaround.
Oh no, that's the feature.
Yeah.
The one.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yep. So there you go. And they, by the way, they
I
did on Windows.
I have two little tidbits for you, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, and Windows 10. Okay.
Yep.
You're going to like this. The plot thickens.
Okay. Good. I was hoping there was more.
So I went back and looked at the blog post where Microsoft first talked about the fact that it considered the blocking of Edge to be something they had to fix, and they have removed that from the blog post. The wording is
so in
all
other
gone.
words, to clarify, you're saying a week ago they had a language in a blog post that said what you just said.
Right.
And since then, they have quietly deleted it and not pointed out the fact that they've deleted that.
Correct.
Interesting. Now, what do you take that to mean?
Well, then today, there was a new Windows 11 test build that came out right before the show. There's a note about halfway down in that blog post. This note says, note, some fixes in insider preview builds from the active development branch may make their way into servicing updates for the release version of Windows 11 that became available October 5th. So they're acknowledging that they may take things in the dev channel that haven't gone to the other channels and suddenly just put them out as fixes in cumulative updates.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was that's why I wrote that post I wrote a few weeks ago, or a week ago, whatever that was. Yeah.
No, this is slightly different wording from that.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry. So, okay. Oh, so what's the difference?
Yeah. So I think what they're saying now is like, we may have dev channel, not like specific dev channel features that won't go to release channel or preview channel. And we're just going to take them out of dev channel and put them into a cumulative update.
By the way, I think that literally happened yesterday because if I'm not, I could be mistaken about this, but I think this blocking okay, so I don't believe it ever went to. So they felt so strongly about this that they slipstreamed it right to the public. Yikes! Yeah.
So so that's kind of curious, right? That they have started deciding that that's a thing, and then I'm sure the way they get around the idea of is this a feature or a fix is they could say, well, this is just a fix because what those people were doing was wrong, right? And we're fixing it. So.
How dare you give back users choice? So just so people are clear about what you're saying, I just so we can kind of step through this. The Insider program uses a channel system that is very similar to what web browsers use, right? So, if you think about something like Chrome has, Canary and Dev and Beta and Stable or whatever, and probably other channels, and Microsoft has whatever channels it has, and the Windows Insider program has channels, and typically a feature will appear first, in this case in Dev, make its way to Beta, then hit its release preview, and then it goes to Stable. So there's a process. Yeah. And in this case, possibly for the first time ever, I don't remember personally this ever happening. They've released a new feature or fix, whatever, to the dev channel and then pushed it literally a week later. I think it's only been around 1 week to the stable, meaning the public version, the version that millions of people are using out in the world. Right. I mean, that's the importance of this. Okay.
It is. Right. And the reason I think they took the wording out of the original blog post where they said they were blocking this is because then subsequently they released a dev channel build that looked like it was going to give users browser choice, right? So they're like,
oh, that's right.
We should take the wording out because it makes it look like we're doing something bad. And now we're doing something good, right? That's my guess why they took it out. Because the reason I even looked for it was I saw your post about this. I went back, I clicked on their blog post, and I did a search for the exact wording, which I cut and pasted into my blog post, and it's
you
gone.
couldn't find it.
It's gone.
So what's interesting, some people will point to another feature that they're testing in the dev channel, which is that default, make default button that they've added to a browser page under apps, default apps. Yeah. That is not part of the Patch Tuesday thing. That's not there, right? So you still have to go. Well, honestly, anyone who thinks that solves the problem is either has never used it or is not really paying a lot of attention, because it really only changes the association of 4 file types. Right. 2 file types and 2 protocols.
The 4 most important ones, right? Like, it goes pretty far. It doesn't go completely all the way, but I'm happy to see them do that at least.
It's a positive step. It's not as good as it used to be, but that's fair.
Yeah. So it's very. I wish somebody would just. Maybe Chris will do this a little bit today, but like somebody needs to just explain like why they're doing what they're doing and why they think it's the right thing to do. I just would like to hear that explanation.
I'm gonna bet he says absolutely nothing. What?
We'll ask him.
What?
We'll ask him and see.
It's not a marketing problem, is it? I mean, it is ultimately.
Well, so the CEO and founder of Vivaldi basically says they're desperate, that the only way they can get people to use Edge and thus the backend services like MSN and Bing is to fool them, and there's an argument to be made there. And by the way, there's a lot of other things. I don't really talk about this kind of stuff a lot. But I just set up a new Microsoft account for the book for screenshot purposes because I wanted to start fresh. I did that for the Windows 10 book back in the day as well. And one of the first things you see when you go to accounts.microsoft.com with a brand new account is the stuff they advertise to you. So they advertise things like Microsoft 365 and Xbox and all that. Okay, that's not surprising. But there are also things like Microsoft Rewards, Microsoft Rewards is another kind of sly way that Microsoft gets you to use their browser, because you earn points for doing things, and I'm sure you can use Microsoft Rewards with other browsers, but, they're kind of creating this cohesive ecosystem of sorts. I don't think anyone could make an argument that it is as cohesive or as maybe useful to users as what Apple's doing, with how they bind things together and they have services and hardware and software that all works better if you have multiple Apple devices or whatever. But, it's sort of the same thing. The idea is you want to go down this one-way road and just do Microsoft stuff, and that's good for Microsoft. And no one could argue otherwise. But I think the question we have is more along the lines of, is it good for users? Is not respecting their wishes with regards to the default browser good for users? I don't think so. Yeah. And is it good for competition? And is there an issue there with regards to the competition question?
Yeah, I never feel bad about them doing things like offering rewards or doing, ethical shopping, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, that's all.
Sure.
It's all tactics to try to get people to use their browser and use their search engine. And that's all fair, right? Like that's marketing. The fact is when you make it really convoluted for somebody to choose a browser to the point where it's basically impossible, right? That's where I have a problem with it.
We can debate the notion of putting like a buy now, pay later type feature in Edge, and that's very specific. But if you look at whatever features Microsoft has added and will add to Edge, the argument you can make, generally speaking, is this adds value to the product. It differentiates it from the competition. And to me, this is a fair way to compete. Yeah. When Microsoft owns the platform you're running the browser on and they make it really hard not to use Edge, it gets into a trickier area that ethically or legally is questionable. That's all. So I don't know. You may or may not like the Edge features. That's fine. That's one conversation.
Yeah.
But this other stuff is to me a little more troubling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Steve took back his commendation this week.
Oh,
for Edge.
Yeah, last week he committed Microsoft on
Oh boy,
I'm backing down. This week
So he thinks they didn't go far enough. Is that what?
he says they're not. This is not.
Well, I still think, and I think I likened this to this last week when we talked about it, to the privacy stuff in Windows 10, which I refer to as privacy theater. This is like default app theater. It looks, a lot of people see the picture of the make default button. They think, oh, they did it. They did. They responded to your complaints. And it's like, guys, they really didn't, but not completely. So, yeah.
Yeah, last week, I think you and I decided that what they had chosen to do was kind of reasonable. Like, with one button, you can change the main web stuff. But things like PDFs and stuff will remain Edge's property unless you explicitly say otherwise.
Yes, and there's a lesser known behavior in Windows that occurs, although people will understand it when you kind of walk through it, that if you install an image app of some kind, the next time you double click on a JPEG file, you'll get one of those, what do you want to open it with dialogues, right? It's kind of a weird looking Windows 8 thing, but you get this dialogue. And actually that's how PDF works as well. So if you install Firefox, navigate into this weird system, click the set as default, and then you double click a PDF. Even though that is associated with Edge still, you'll actually be given the choice. And to me, that's the correct behavior, but that's only for that one file type. So the thing is, for those secret protocols, right, which Windows is now actively working to block you from circumventing. So if you do something in widgets via Cortana, Start Search, et cetera, those things are going to open an Edge regardless of what your feeling is on that. And I think you can make a really good argument that when you're opening a web page in a browser and it doesn't open in the thing you just said, make my default, that's not acting on behalf of, that's not doing what you expected it to do. It just isn't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's complicated.
It is. It is complicated. I can see, they keep saying the reason they are making Edge the only choice for widgets and search is if they don't do that, then it breaks the experience. Okay, that's technically correct, right? That is true.
Well, how does it break the experience?
Because it's so hardwired into it. Like the way that the search thing works, Microsoft Search, is you have to actually be using Edge and be signed into your Microsoft account. Like otherwise it doesn't work at all, right? It doesn't work. I don't mean Bing. I mean this thing called Microsoft Search, right?
I understand.
That's how they designed it. It's like it would break by design, right? Like they hardwired it to break.
Right. I mean, when Windows 10 was still kind of a new thing, and Microsoft was still heavily pushing Cortana, Amazon at least, they might have been the only one, but there was this notion. Amazon was creating and then released an Alexa app on Windows 10, and at that time I sort of said, there should be a default in there for digital assistant as well. And you could kind of make the case from a system level that there should be a default for search engine as well. It's something you set in the browser, which is probably why they don't want you pushing it to Chrome, because then it will go through Google, not through Bing, right? But there's no reason that you couldn't trigger a web search from a start menu search that launches Google search and gives you exactly what you were looking for. They literally just don't want you to do that. So, and we could kind of argue about this or not. I don't think many people would argue otherwise, but you're probably going to get a better result from Google as well. So preventing people from doing that is, I guess there's some kind of, in certain cases you can make a case because they're going to mix and match results that maybe includes your workplace stuff, how they do that integrated Windows search on the web thing or whatever with search results, which are going to come from Bing or whatever. But most people, you open Start, you just type in what is the capital of Uruguay or whatever. The browser's going to open, a search engine's going to throw you a query or throw a query. You're going to get the answer. If you chose Chrome, most people are going to expect Chrome to open, and they're going to expect that thing to come via Google. And that's not what's going to happen. Whether this matters or not is not a big deal, I guess, in the scheme of things. But it's one of the many little things that's going on here. And this is, it's a play for usage, which, Microsoft, it's just like anything else. They're going to push it as far as they can because they have a business interest in the outcome, right? I mean, so, we can say, I can freak out because, all I care about are the people that use it. And there are other interests at work here.
I guess that's fair. I mean, it's not illegal. Well,
that's
seen. I mean, the courts might have to take that one on.
Yeah.
It's not nefarious.
It is underhanded, right? And the reason I say that is because of those instances where it's reasonable to assume the browser and thus the search engine you chose explicitly.
It doesn't do what you expect.
It doesn't do what you expect.
Yeah.
And so anytime that happens, you're either going to be just, Mary Jo wondered, would people even notice? And I do believe there are a certain percentage of people, whatever it is, that would not notice and would not care.
Is it the case that a company, a lot of lately Facebook and a lot of other companies have been accused of putting profits over people.
Right.
And of course, it's their job as a company to put profits over people. But
everything else.
There's a point.
Sure.
Yeah, but there's a point where it's not actually good in the long
comes into play.
Yeah. Okay, the first thing is, the right thing to do. But let's put that aside, because your stakeholders say the right thing to do is make us more money. The next most important thing to do,
long term and short term, but
that's where I'm going, which is in the short term this might be good, but if maybe you really aren't putting profits over people, if people go, this sucks.
If you only are thinking about this quarter, your head is not in the right place. And I would make the argument that anyone who is in like a CFO or a financial type position that is only looking at they're not looking at all of the numbers actually, but you're only looking at, how many, whatever the X profit or, whatever it is, you have to take into account this kind of long-term implication. And that's what I think the argument I made, I think last week was, it doesn't show up in telemetry very easily. The impact that not seeing what you expected after you went to the trouble to make this choice it undermines your trust in the company and the product and the services, and you might go in a different direction next time when it comes to buying a new computer or a device or whatever it is. And that's really hard to calculate.
Yeah.
It's really easy for you to tell me what your profits and revenues were this quarter, but what's the impact that all those profits and revenues have on your long-term trajectory with regards to this kind of thing is very hard to calculate.
Yeah.
Maybe it's impossible. I don't know.
Yeah. So but that's the kind of thing you sit in the boardroom and you chew over and you go back and forth and say, well, how far can we push this? We really want.
Then you put your monocle in and you laugh like a madman. Fall back on your pile of money.
Yeah.
Well, that's always the risk. Is if people see you doing that, then that's not a good look. I mean, no corporation wants to be evil corp.
Sure.
But this
except
isn't
Facebook.
This isn't evil. But I guess that's the other point. It's not evil exactly. It's not wrong. It's just it's defying user expectation. And
this is the New England Patriots style of business. It's like we're going to do everything it takes to
deflate the football. If you get away with it, good. And if you don't, you pay a fine. You say, "Oh, we're so sorry, but you can't have the trophy back."
And right, and there'll always be those people that say everyone else is doing it, which was the case in football and is the case here. I mean, Apple does this in some places in their platforms. Google does this in their platforms. It's not like you can go into a Chromebook and switch to Bing if you wanted to, or whatever, or switch to Edge. And does that deflate the argument against Microsoft doing this in Windows 11 or whatever? Not exactly, but that's that has to be part of the conversation too. They are competing against companies that are not particularly scrupulous themselves, right? And are also bending the rules, so to speak, and seeing what they can get away with. Google Google especially. I'm not sure about Apple, but this kind of thing. But Google for sure has come under antitrust scrutiny for this type of behavior in its platforms, and in fact has had to change Android in Europe so that you can choose your search engine and browser before you even use the platform.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I think it's a natural tension, and I think it's your job, our job, to point out what users would like and expect, because that's
and that, why that's hard, because listeners of this show are savvy enough to expect one thing, right?
Sure.
And normal people don't even know if they're using Bing or whatever, right? Like they don't know.
I guess I could make the argument it's not our job to represent normal people.
Yeah.
We represent our listeners.
But I do feel like I think it's important to defend those who can't defend themselves as well.
Yes, I agree.
What I mean,
but that's,
in this case, it means the people who don't understand the forces that are at work to usurp their experience. They in some cases, like Mary Jo says, they wouldn't notice and maybe they don't even care. But you still want to look out on the better interests of people.
Well, and I think that's what Microsoft's going to say is, we think this is a better user experience.
Exactly. That is what they have said.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
And by the way, a better user experience in Microsoft's opinion that also happens to benefit Microsoft, however you want to term that financially. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with that.
This is exactly what Apple does too, by the way. We're just doing the right thing for users. So.
Yep.
Yeah. And just like with features, in Apple's case, the users don't know what's best for them, so we'll just do it for them. Don't worry about it. I guess. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, look, we're hopefully intelligent enough to have a conversation about this on some level, and we can disagree or agree or whatever, and we can all walk away with our own opinions about it. I'm not happy with this personally, but I also know that because you hear from people like this too. I mean, some people just don't care. They don't understand what the big deal is.
Well, and that is probably the case for most people, right? Most people,
probably.
Yeah, whatever. What are you talking
Probably.
about? Yeah, it looks good to me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. If that's how you feel, okay.
I mean, if you're that dumb, I can't. No, I mean, no, I
can't help you if you don't know any better.
I mean, I can't even talk to you if you don't understand the language. But no, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the real question we should ask is it better for users, or is that just a rationalization for making more money? Is it actually better for users?
It'd be great if you could do both, right?
Yeah,
if you can do both.
If you should do both. That's the job, right? Do both. Yeah. You should.
Hopefully.
Because the one follows the other. Yeah.
Right. Do the right thing and the money will come.
Yeah.
In a way, right? I mean, I know it's a little naive, but yeah. Well, that's why. By the way, and I have to keep going back to this. It's so important. When Microsoft first switched Edge to Chromium, the promise of this product was everything that was right about Chrome, with all the Google stuff you don't want removed, especially the tracking and all that. That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. I was so happy about this. It was so good that I think it overcame the argument about that monoculture thing where we only have this one rendering engine that's Chromium or whatever the underlying, what's it called? Whatever it's called. And, people say, oh, no, we need competition. You need, Mozilla should have its own thing and Safari should have its own thing and or Edge should have its own thing. And that keeps everything on an even playing field. And it's like, well, I mean, honestly, it's better for the web development world if there's only one thing to write to, but we can talk about the security and the privacy and all that kind of, and the feature set. And that's where maybe browser makers should compete. And so you can have that kind of argument as well. But I just feel like Edge has evolved so far past this now. It's not even the same product that they promised,
Why would Vivaldi be mad? Oh, because they want you to be able to use them as a default browser. How come Firefox isn't complaining, or are they also?
They've also complained.
Okay.
In fact, Firefox was one of the couple of companies that
they did their
workaround in their own product.
Yeah.
Which browser vendor put theirs? No, which browser vendor said they were going to put their browser in the store? It wasn't for Vivaldi or
Mozilla,
Firefox, right?
No,
Mozilla.
It's Firefox. It is in the store. It's been there for the past, 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. So that they know that they're breaking the ability to have the workaround, but they still did it anyway. They still
So look, this is the weird dual nature of this whole thing. Mozilla is the first browser in the Microsoft Store that doesn't use the Edge rendering engine, which was a requirement up until Windows 11 shipped.
Oh, so
that's a big deal, and that's kind of a neat pro.
Yeah,
but the kind of dark side of that isn't just this stuff. It's that, and I'd have to. Maybe someone will remember this. What it is. The store version of Mozilla. It is this thing. The store version of Mozilla Firefox doesn't have that button where you click here to make it the default and it actually works, which is now broken. And I'm sure that's why Microsoft was like, yeah, actually we're gonna prevent that from working. So maybe don't put that in the product. Right. So, what I would have said, what I probably did say 3 weeks ago is, hey, congratulations, Mozilla's in the store, but you should get Firefox in the web because you want that that feature, which now does not work. Yeah.
Yep.
It's really interesting.
It's the yin and the yang.
It's a
Microsoft
fascinating,
Edge.
actually, conversation. And I'm sure that this is kind of every company says we got to maximize profits. We want to make it. I think even when Amazon says customer experience comes first, it's a little bit of a lie. I mean,
Totally.
Sure.
it would be interesting to see, if all you cared about was the best customer experience, would you do better as a company? Would you be more profitable? Would you succeed?
Best customer experience. Let me tell you, what Amazon has done has piled truck upon truck on the highway that goes by my house that you can't get anywhere anymore because everyone has to get their thing tomorrow or even today in some cases, and it's just full of trucks. The whole world is just Amazon trucks now. You could walk across them and get there faster.
We can't be held responsible for unintended consequences. We are giving the customer what they want.
But this is a good example of short versus long term. I mean, in this case, it would be a hard thing to explain to people. Hey, listen, I know you need this little doodad like tomorrow, but if you got it in 2 days, just give it a second. Hold on. There'll be less pollution. There'll be less traffic, right? You won't be screaming at the cars in front of you that aren't going anywhere because it's all the big smile thing on the truck and we're hiring and you get to deliver
But you've got
smiles
paying
too.
customers. You want to make them happy. Those aren't necessarily paying customers. They're just some people in the vicinity of the paying customers.
No, but let's say they are the paying. But even
But that's the
assuming they're
problem.
same
Amazon doesn't know. The
Right.
data points are the paying customers like one-day delivery.
Yeah.
That's the
So
data point.
you're driving home from work and you're thinking, God, it takes me 45 more minutes to get home, but at least when I get there,
At least
that
my package
stupid
will be
trinket
there.
I bought on Amazon is there.
Well, and that's
That's
why we have, by the way, that's why we have government to impose society's interests on companies that are only looking out for their own interests. That's the natural tension. That's why we have antitrust regulation. Iridescent Ox in our Discord, I think, says a really interesting thing. I'd love to know what you think. Once upon a time, Microsoft built a platform, opened it up to third-party developers. That was good for users. That was good for the ecosystem. Today, they're ruining both by trying to wall it off for themselves.
Yeah, of course. But, but because in the years since Microsoft was personal computing, where it was just Windows and Office and that was everything, that was the whole world, what has happened? Video game consoles have taken off in a serious way. Mobile has taken off in a serious way, and Google has taken it off in a serious way and then is competing in these other markets as well. And every single one of these things, what's the thing they all have in common? They're all walled gardens.
Yeah.
Right?
Because there's more
Microsoft-
money being a walled
Yeah.
garden than being an open platform.
Right.
So really, this is the argument for Linux. I'm not going to bring that up, though, because I know you would throw things at me.
Well, no, actually, I mean, well, that's Microsoft's argument. We see what Sony and Nintendo have done in video games. We see what Apple and Google have done in mobile platforms and computing platforms.
Yeah.
They're on one end of the spectrum, and then on the other end is Linux. Oh, gee, I wonder which one we want to be like.
Who makes the most money?
I mean,
it goes back actually to the earliest days of gaming. Atari let anybody make a game for their Atari gaming consoles, the VCS. And as a result, there were many, many crappy games. And it was Nintendo that said, no. We are going to tightly control the games, improve the experience, and put Atari out of business.
By the way,
Nintendo's still going strong.
Here's a thesis for a book that someone should write. All of history is seriously just things happening and then things overreacting to that thing that happened.
The pendulum.
And then you just go back and forth, ping pong between those two things. So Nintendo was an overreaction to what happened with Atari.
Yeah. Overreaction, you say.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but who's in business still? All right. Let's take a little.
No, you're right.
Yeah. Let's take a little break. Again, Chris Capossela is coming up, but there's lots more to talk about. Our show today brought to you by Podium. This is I'll tell you what, if you are customer centric, you want to communicate with the customers in a way the customer wants you to communicate. In the old days, maybe a phone call, maybe the web, email was big for a while. Who reads email anymore? Today, it's text messaging. The open rate on text messaging is almost 100%. Customers like it because it's a friction-free experience. We've all gotten used to it during the pandemic because, when you order food, your order's on the way, you get the text message. When you're going to go to the grocery store, you send the text message, I'm out front. It's just, this is how we communicate nowadays. If you own a business, there's just not enough time in the day to play phone tag. The list of customers you want to reach doesn't get any shorter, especially if businesses go good, and I hope it's good for you right now. That's why local businesses everywhere are turning to Podium. Podium makes every interaction as easy as sending a text, easy for your customers, but I should point out also easy for you. Your employees will like it because instead of responding to 15 different, things, there's one inbox. They can quickly handle every request. Everything that makes your business great can get done faster. A couple of examples with Podium. It's not just about communications. It's about getting things done. You can gather reviews. Somebody leaves your business, they get a text saying, "How was your experience? Leave us a review on Yelp or Google." And there's a link, and they click it, and you know what? The proof's in the pudding. The response rate on this is so much higher. Collecting payments. People, nowadays the infrastructure exists to respond to a text with payments. People like that. It's easy. It's fast. It just makes a big difference in your ability to collect. Marketing your customers. Sure, it makes me crazy, but it works. The local ice cream store sends me a text message every few weeks. "We haven't seen you in a while. Here's a 30% off coupon." Oh, you got me again. Podium. It's great. I mean, you leave the dentist's office and they say your appointment is, I just love that. And because like on most modern platforms, you can click the date in that text, add the appointment to your calendar. It's just, this is what your customers want. And you won't just free up more time for yourself. You're going to grow your business. You're going to get more done. You're going to close more deals. Customers these days also take, say, I need somebody. I did the other day. I needed a window fixed. And I contacted Glaziers, and the first one to respond via text was the first one to get the business. Join more than 100,000 businesses that already use Podium to streamline their customer interactions. Get started free. Podium.com/dubdub. Or sign up for a paid Podium account and get a free credit card reader. Restrictions apply. PODIUM, podium.com/WW. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly, and we thank you for supporting Windows Weekly by using that address, podium.com/WW. All right, didn't mean to interfere with your flow. Your flow. It's a Patch Tuesday. It was a Patch Tuesday. I didn't even notice. Do we seek patches or do they just happen?
I mean,
It depends.
Yeah,
It depends on
I
the
seek
I'm
user.
trying not to seek. I know, but I'm trying not to be a seeker.
right. It will happen automatically if you don't see.
Just not as fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now with things like Log4j, I feel like maybe I should.
And honestly, that's a good example of why I think you just install this stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, you get to eliminate your choice of browser, so you do that too. So if you seek, it's like you chose it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it would have been if you knew that was happening because they didn't document that it was happening. But you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're over that.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Patch Tuesday, anything else to say about it?
No.
No, except for that browser redirection blocker that it's added.
Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was interesting to me that they retroactively applied this fix, I hate to use that term, to Windows 10. What were people doing in Windows 10? Bypassing some kind
Right.
of... I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Edge Deflector worked in Windows 10 too or something.
Yeah, there's
Must
always
be nice
stuff
to be
to
this
fix.
guy. I feel like this guy. He's just a guy, Microsoft's worth like $1 trillion something. He's a guy.
What do you do at Microsoft, Will? I keep people
I'll tell you what we do. We train the
Switching
guns of this guy.
browsers.
Remember when the Death Star blew up a planet? We're blowing up a person. That's the level of precision we got from this thing
We're
now.
so good. So you'd think it'd be Mary Jo that would go hands-on with the new Notepad, but it's Paul getting all handsy.
Well, okay, but here's why. You can only get it in the dev channel of the Windows
Dev,
Insider program,
right.
and I'm going to guess that Mary Jo is not involved with that right
No,
now.
I am no longer in the dev channel.
Because it's one-way dead end street, right? It's not associated with any version of Windows.
Right.
There may never be an out.
It breaks. It breaks. Things happen. Nah, I don't want it.
So So here's the good news for Mary Jo and for anyone who cares about Notepad. It does not change the experience in the slightest. The actual part of the editor that is the editor, where you see text, is the same. It is the same. The selection of font is a little more modern. They've moved 2 menu items around. Not a big deal. So every single feature, literally, that was in Notepad before is still there. And
great.
Let me think about this before I say it. There's no real new feature. I mean, there's a very basic settings interface, which is just for fonts, and I don't remember what the other one is, some other feature, for some other setting, but it's really basic. And I'm glad because, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I mean, they almost ruined Paint when they updated it. Yeah. I'm hoping they will get to fixing that over time. I know just looking at it, there are going to be certain things they never do fix, but I'm glad that this to me is when we think of a legacy app and you kind of apply what I think of, even if this isn't what it is, like a WinUI 3 coat of paint to it, give it support for dark mode, which I think is great. You don't ruin the essence of what it is, hopefully. Yeah. And that's what they've done here. So it's just good news.
Is the dark mode truly dark mode? You know how they've had trouble making some things truly dark mode?
In that, is it all dark kind of, you mean like is there some hit? No, it appears to be all dark mode. And I think that was part of you remember I said when I did my version of Notepad a couple of years ago, one of the problems I ran into was, I apologize, I can't remember the window type, but there was a specific window type they used for find and replace. And the support for that in modern frameworks is lost. It's over. They don't offer it anymore. That thing, because it was written 20 years ago, will never support dark mode, right? And I think that's part of the reason, probably the reason, they created a new UI for that, because they had to. So no, there were no, same thing, the font dialog that would come up was that thing probably dated back to the 90s. If you look at your font dialog in Notepad today, what you're going to see is they might have restyled it a little bit, but that thing's got to be 30 years old. Mm-hmm. So those interfaces are now new because they have to be part of that dark mode support. I think that's the rationale for all that. So it looks good.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be, when you're a coder, you want to write code that does stuff instead of writing code that works around bad stuff that the operating system insists upon.
Right. I mean,
I spent 4 days writing a dark mode picker because the default one wouldn't do it.
Well, yeah, but those are the UIs that when you think it's a legacy app, that's just so. If you're going to support this new thing, you either do or you don't. Even the new File Explorer in Windows 11, like if you go to that menu thing and go to Options, folder options pops up. That's a legacy control panel. Same thing with probably the property. No, properties goes to a new interface actually. So, but there are still.
That's the hard thing about dark mode is, you got to fix all of this old stuff. Yeah. To support.
And you never will.
It's
like the run dialogue is still old.
They didn't know about dark mode. They just liked everything in one color.
No, and that's part of the complexity of Windows. Is there's so much UI in there that dates back. Some of it dates back 30 years. So in you have a dark mode. It's dark. It's pleasant for your eyes, and then it's like a spotlight pops up in the middle of the screen. That can be a little tough. Anyway, they did it right with the Notepad. So
Kevin Brewer has sent us a video of his experience when he starts in dark mode, and suddenly
Yep. That's exactly it,
Kevin.
Or you're laying in bed at night. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then it comes. Come on, you'll be seeing like light reflections for like the next 15 minutes.
But there is no autosave. Paul and I have both been asked this. That's not there.
No, they haven't added any features. There are no new features. Now that they've done this, though, does that mean they could be set up to add features? Of course. And I have a very basic autosave feature in my version of Notepad. It's very easy to add because you can tell because I did it. I suspect that Microsoft, with its infinite resources, could probably figure out something a little more sophisticated. I would welcome that kind of a change. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Then I'll sue an antitrust court for trying to put my little product out of business. But you know what? We'll get to that. Don't worry about that.
You've been Sherlock.
Exactly.
So this, I think I agree with 100%. Microsoft's going to take this really nice new terminal that they've written and make it the command line from now on. I thought they'd already done that. This doesn't even happen until next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, by the way, and it's unclear because I think this falls into that when does Windows 11 get updated thing we've been talking about. They don't know and don't want to say, or maybe or don't want to say. I will tell you this just a little bit of trivia. You can change your default command line in Windows 11 with one click. You don't have to go through a bunch of protocols and file types. It just works. Okay, that's fine. So I don't know that there are, remember back in the Windows 95 timeframe, we used to have all these terminal emulators and telnet applications and things. There are actually some command line environments out there, but it's really not that big of a deal. And I think, as with Visual Studio Code, whatever you think of Microsoft, I think a lot of even open source type developers have embraced Windows Terminal. It's great.
It's really pretty. They did just a nice job. And I can't believe we used that old command line terminal for as long as we did. Oh my God.
That's incredible.
I know.
Well, command com, or what do they call it? Command prompt. It's basically like
CMD.exe, right? That's it, right?
It is.
Not a terminal.
And it is. No, but it is it's almost an MS-DOS 1.0 emulator when you think about it.
Yeah.
That's been updated over the years.
That's basically what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome to the fold. Modern terminals. Wow. Wow, so nice.
It's funny.
Well, I hear a little something on the roof. I think we're just about half an hour away. The reindeer have arrived. Chris Capossela will be coming down the chimney and joining us as we continue. I just wanted to pass along the you're going to get this in the mail, you guys, but the Twit Christmas card has come out.
Oh no.
Meta Twitmas.
Oh boy.
That's awesome.
Isn't that funny? It seemed like a good idea at the time. Now I'm thinking, well, it's not very festive, but we're all virtual characters.
You are.
And it was easier than getting everybody in the same room anyway. Yeah.
Who's that little mask-wearing fellow in the bottom right there?
I think that's Kevin wearing a Sharks mask because he's a Shark fan. He likes Shark Week. Yeah. That's kind of an in-joke. And then you can figure it out because everybody's signature is there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So kind of cool.
Very cool.
Happy holidays,
By
everyone.
the way, speaking of Christmas cards, last week I ranted a little bit about people who send me pictures of their kids that I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know what your situation is with Christmas cards. My wife puts Christmas cards that we receive on the door, and they kind of cascade down the door until the door is filled, and then they go onto the wall.
Yeah.
This year we have 4 cards.
Yeah, it's a little, I think it's a tradition that maybe has run its course.
Yeah. A lot of people don't get
I
cards
like
anymore.
Christmas cards.
I'll send you a Christmas fax.
Christmas fax. Man.
Well, you're going to
Guys,
get
come
this.
on.
But no, I know what you mean. Used to have piles of them. We would hang them in the studio like, festoons.
Our door could not contain them. We had to use the wall next to the door.
If you have to go to the post office, you understand why people are not mailing Christmas cards.
That's why you should.
Well, you just leave them in your
stamps.com.
mailbox.
Yeah.
No, so I went to the post office yesterday
Lord.
because we don't have a mailbox.
They
It's
took
New
them
York,
all
so-
out.
Yeah,
They did the
there are
same thing even in
mailboxes, but,
Petaluma. They took the mailboxes out.
There aren't many. And so
first
I
they
went to
took
the
our
post
payphones.
office. Exactly. No, and the line is out the door. People are fighting and fighting with the guys behind the counter, fighting with each other, yelling.
boy.
The machines that do stamps are broken. People are screaming, giant packages. So I'm like, this is why people don't send cards.
So I'm gonna let me compare and contrast the experience of going to the post office in New York City with that of going here in rural Pennselsvania. First of all, it's often closed because they go to lunch or
Well, so
something.
is
I guess the
ours.
federal office just closes in the middle of the day. The only time they're open, but they're closed for like 2 hours. But then you stand in a very short line, and everyone is incredibly pleasant. In fact, they're too pleasant. That's why there's a line. The person at the front has concluded his business. They're just chit-chatting about the kids and blah, 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 and this. And it's like, guys, I just got to return a phone here or whatever I'm doing, whatever awful reason I'm here and I need a receipt. It's still miserable for me, but it is in the most pleasant of environments, assuming they're open, which is they often are not.
Yeah.
Now, people don't send digital cards either. I hope that's gone. Remember that for a while? You'd have little animated things in your email, Chris, digital. Oh, I hated that.
No,
I got, we have the family from France that we did our first home swap with was sending digital cards for a few years there. I think they might. And the French send these cards after the holidays. They send them in January. It's kind of like a
New Year's
Happy
cards.
New Year type of thing. Yeah.
Well, it's also understandable. I mean, they don't want to send, if they send it air mail from France, it might not get here to next year.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's a digital card from overseas makes sense. But I think cards and Christmas cards, all of this has gone by the wayside because we all do everything kind of face to face on Zoom or something.
This is a mistake. I think this is a nice tradition. I'm going to go out and crank that little thing over there and make my own butter. But it's
the butter churn.
Don't worry. I sent you guys cards. They're in the mail.
you.
That's why I had to go to the post office.
And Lou Maresca did Paul. He was listening, obviously.
Yep.
He sent a lovely card. Our host on Twiat with his family. In fact, there's several pictures and him and his wife. And I think that was exactly what I wanted.
I need the context,
Yeah.
Sometimes the people look vaguely familiar.
Whose children are these? I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, get ready because this is coming.
Right. Yeah, those look vaguely like people I know. Yeah.
This is our way of saying it's all meta now from now on. That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's take a little break. Again, Chris Capossela just around the corner. It's getting to smell a lot like Christmas.
It's smelling like ugly Microsoft sweater in here.
I hope he's got that Minesweeper sweater. That would be so cool. Can't wait to see. Our show today brought to you by Andela. I love Andela's motto. Brilliance is evenly distributed all over the world, but opportunity is not. There are talented, brilliant, A-grade programmers and other technical talent out there, but they live in, Africa, and they can't, there are no jobs for them. Andela is a global talent network with a mission to connect all that brilliance with the opportunity we have here in the States. An opportunity you might have. Your company is expected to move faster than ever before to stay ahead of the competition these days. You got a lot of priorities to manage. It's hard to find the time to build and onboard an amazing engineering team. Hard to find them. And this is part of the problem is you're limiting your search to the people next door. Andela can help. It's the world's first talent network connecting innovative companies like yours with top-tier vetted engineers. They've got a process. So these engineers are really good. They're really good. You can focus on your core business, and you've got an engineering team that's grade A, first class. Andela is committed to your success with their combination of expert technical recruiters, proprietary matching algorithms. They've really built a business around this whole idea of finding great developers all around the world, and then the best in the business, but then matching them to your business, letting you accelerate productivity, drive revenue. The vetting process is rigorous. They maintain the highest quality emission standards to ensure they can place you with top quality engineers at scale, but they can move fast. In fact, you can call Andela today and be ready next week to get going. In today's hyper-competitive environment, companies that limit themselves to local hires are at a big disadvantage. You probably are already experiencing that. With Andela, you can tap into their pool of highly qualified talent from around the world, cut your hiring timelines down from months to days. When you hire Andela engineers, you can expect they'll be efficiently onboarded, ready to work. And I love it because this is not like a remote team. They are fully embedded within your organization, and they guarantee at least 5 hours of overlapping working hours with the rest of your team. So it's not that thing where, we'll have to call him in the middle of the night because he's not working now. No, they're overlapping, which is great. Lots of great testimonials on the website. Here's one. Mindshare partnered with Andela. They desperately needed 10 new digital experts, data scientists, machine learning specialists, analysts. I mean, these are the top people, software developers, and it worked. Mindshare's executive director and head of business intelligence says, as we continue to enhance the Synapse platform, time to value is very important. Andela is a good partner in helping us identify the right talent fit for different purposes. It's time to tap into a wider talent pool to stop competing with the big tech companies and spend less time interviewing. Brilliance is evenly distributed. Opportunity is not. Visit andela.com/4-companies to schedule a complimentary consultation. You can even get a 2-week no-risk trial with their vetted technical talent. Try them out. Andela, A-N-D-E-L-A, andela.com/4-companies. 4-companies. andela.com/4-companies. Thank you, Andela, for supporting Windows Weekly. Moving right along. Got to get ready for Chris Capossela. Teams. We haven't talked about Teams in half an hour. What's new with Teams?
Teams is getting end-to-end encryption for one-to-one Teams calls.
Oh, that's actually a big deal.
It is. So this is only for voice and video, not for chat or file sharing. But they're starting to roll this out now to tenants. And there's a couple interesting things. One is it's not on by default. So once IT configures it and says, here are the users who we want to have this, users still need to turn on this feature. And then once it's on, there are a bunch of things that it conflicts with and won't work. So things like recording, live captions, transcription, adding participants to a call, if it's a group call, none of those will work if you have end-to-end encryption on. So your only option is to go and shut off end-to-end encryption if you want any of that, which is kind of ironic. But at least they're getting it.
I think they can't.
Yeah.
You can't. It's harder to do.
You can't have all those things, right?
Yeah. And encryption kind of makes it impossible to do that.
Yeah, right. If you're going to add somebody to the call and it's a one-on-one encrypted call, how does that work, right? So, yeah. But it's still great. Good to see. They promised this was coming, and it actually is starting to roll out now. So that's great. I don't know. Paul, do you know if it's U.S. only? Somebody asked me that, and I'm like,
I don't believe that it is based on the language of the post. But let me look it up.
Yeah, some of the things that we see, like there's an asterisk hidden somewhere, and it says U.S. only or U.S. Canada and the U.K. only. And
yeah,
I didn't see that here, but it's one of those things you're like, yeah, it could be, maybe. I don't know. I didn't see any exceptions, but
yeah. I mean, it has been. It was tested across multiple enterprise customers in the U.S. and Europe. Is the first line of that post. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It doesn't. It seems like they would have been very explicit.
Doesn't say it's limited, right? I think so too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my take, but I'm trying to look for why I thought that.
Anyway, it's good. It's starting to roll out across tenants.
When it was illegal to export encryption?
Yeah.
I guess that's gone by the wayside.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is Microsoft, let me ask you a question. Is Microsoft doing anything to make Teams search more functional?
They are.
That came out of the blue.
I'm just reading the notes here.
Leo, are you psychic?
Yeah, they are. How did you know? Yes. They're rolling out a new search in Teams. And, when you first hear about this, you're kind of like, yeah, sure. I'm sure it's going to be great. But I've had people who have already gotten this feature say, oh, no, this fixes search in Teams. What they're doing is they've redesigned the UI. So there's 4 search pages. There's messages, people, files, and all. And this really, I guess, lets you get much more granular and better quality searches when you're searching for something in Teams. So that also is rolling out now. Have you tried it?
No, because I've been burned by this. So every week I write this premium newsletter editorial, and I try to use like a one-word title when I can. So I'll just make something up. Like per se, I want to use the title magic, And I'm like, I feel like I used this title sometime in the past 2.5 years. I should search. So I search for magic. It doesn't come up with anything. I'm like, all right, fine, magic. Magic's good. So I upload the file and it goes, hey, there's already a file called magic. Did you want to overwrite it? You're like, come on. I literally looked for this. And so that's happened to me multiple times.
That's not good.
I think that the search that works the worst for me in any Microsoft app is in Outlook. Outlook search, I think, is just awful.
Right.
And
Sure.
I'm really hoping when they come out with Outlook Monarch, that version that we keep hearing about that has still not materialized, that maybe they'll fix search in Outlook. I hope. So, yeah.
Oh, I am happy about this. iFixit is a longtime sponsor on our shows.
Mm-hmm.
We love Kyle Wiens. He's big on the right to repair. They've been really pushing that forward. I guess they're doing a deal with Microsoft.
Yeah.
In fact,
love
he was
that.
the one who wrote their blog post about it.
Yeah.
Microsoft and Apple, I think, were both the target of like shareholder, shareholders who kind of went after them for this. So they're embracing right to repair, but it's good for customers. So obviously it's good. So yeah, this is aimed at let me see if I can find the list is, where is it? iFixit Pro independent repairers, Microsoft authorized service providers, Microsoft experience centers, and Microsoft commercial customers. And as far as the iFixit Pro independent repairer job goes, I believe it's free to get this title. You have to apply, but you can. I think any individual could do this. It's obviously not aimed at end users per se. You're not going to find a Surface Go, display bonding frame in Best Buy,
Yeah.
But they do have, I think it's four. Is it four? I think it's 3 or 4 new tools. 3 tools, sorry. A Surface display bonding frame, which applies to Surface Pro 7 Plus and 8. A Surface battery cover for Surface Laptop 3 Plus, Surface Laptop Go, Laptop SE, Laptop Studio, and the Surface display debonding tool for Surface Pro Plus 7 Plus, Pro 8, and Pro X. And then some of them will include various weights and accessories, for whatever these things are. This is not something a normal person should ever be doing, but any move to right to repair is good. And in kind of a related note, I didn't put this in the notes, but did you see Dell has put up a prototype of a fully repairable laptop where every single component could be replaced, and you could essentially, over time, build a brand new laptop by replacing individual components. And they've even come out with this is again a prototype, but they've come out with like a webcam that connects to this display of any laptop using a magnet, and then you could just replace that, with a better camera as they come out. It's kind of interesting.
I think that's a great idea. I like that.
This whole thing is just good in general for everybody. So whether you're talking about you have an iPhone and you need a screen repaired or whatever it is, you have a laptop and something is broken. It's such a good thing. So
nice.
Because we were really treading in the wrong direction. These things were like sealed boxes, couldn't even get into with tools. So that we're finally.
Have you taken any of these apart? I mean,
no, I would never do that.
Right. And it's definitely not for people like me, right? Like I would never even think to do this, right?
So over the summer, I brought 2 laptops to Mexico in August, and one of them suffered. Well, they both got water on them, and one of them wouldn't start. There was a Dragonfly, and the Dragonfly is user serviceable. You need like a particular Torx to open it up. I tried to find one in Mexico City. I couldn't find the exact one. And I don't know if someone from HP heard me talking about it or if I contacted them, but they basically what came down was like, hey, look, you really shouldn't do this if you're not educated about how it works. You could electrocute yourself, and it's really not designed for individuals. Like it would be better if you destroyed it or recycled it, or you could send it back to us. And I said, if I send it back to you, are you going to open it up and find out what was wrong with it? And it's like, no, we know exactly what's wrong with it. We just don't think you should open it up. And I was like, okay. So I ended up sending it back, but they destroyed it. So. Well, because it's wrecked. I mean, at that point, it's wrecked.
You can't resist. You got to be careful. Yeah, and I think that's probably the argument a lot of companies use for keeping repairs to themselves is, this is not, you could puncture the battery and there's all sorts of risks involved.
Well, but laptops used to be made of components you could replace. Not all, you couldn't replace the screen typically, right? But you would have like a bay that could be an extra battery or a hard drive or an optical drive, and they've gotten less and less repairable. They're made with really awful glue and materials. Like remember the Alcantara on Surface laptop couldn't be ripped off without destroying the case, and right to repair means a lot of things, but I think the big thing is just easier and more accessible repair. and thus probably lower cost repair as well. Some machines literally can't even be repaired.
Yeah.
Like
that's why we love the framework, right? Because you can open it up. You can buy third-party parts, put them in there. You can buy parts from framework.
Right.
It's really nicely done. Dell's now announced they're going to do something very, very surprisingly similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
But I think that's good. I think every company should, and I think this is one step toward in that direction anyway.
Yep.
Make it a little easier to repair. We don't. It's a shame that these things, or even upgrade, because like that camera, because these things don't belong in the landfill. That's not the future we want for our little babies.
It's good for the environment, right? These things will stay out in the world longer. You can pass them on to other people. They can keep being used.
Exactly. Let's see. We're about 10 minutes from the big C. It's the C-bad. Very excited about all of this. Should we delve into the Xbox? How long is that going to take? Do you have time?
A few minutes.
All right.
And
Let's
then
do the Xbox.
And then you can probably do that.
Then we'll get ready for Mr. C.
Okay. So there was no formal announcement of this, but during an event that happened last week in the gaming world, Microsoft revealed that it is rebranding Xbox Game Pass for PC. Jeez, I can't speak. And you're not going to believe what happens next. No, so the branding on this has been kind of confusing. So there's been an Xbox Game Pass, which is the overall service, which has various tiers. One of which has been called Xbox Game Pass for console, sometimes just Xbox Game Pass, which kind of mixes things up. Xbox Game Pass for PC, obviously, and then Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So the console tier will now just go by the name Xbox Game Pass, and the PC tier will be called PC Game Pass. So they're getting rid of the Xbox name, although there'll be an Xbox logo as part of the brand, obviously. And then Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is not changing, so...
I wonder how we should ask Chris this, but I wonder how well this is doing. This is, I think, was such a great thing.
We've only gotten one figure, and I don't remember off the top of my head what it was, but it was double-digit millions subscribers.
Good.
I think it's doing pretty.
Wow, that's great. They deserves that. It's a great way to play. Yeah.
Every month, twice, typically, Microsoft announces Game Pass titles across those platforms: console, PC, and cloud. And cloud is the Xbox cloud gaming feature of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right, which is xCloud. And they typically do one right at the beginning of the month and then one in the middle of the month. So it is the middle of the month, and they've announced more titles. But the titles are all coming out today and tomorrow. They're not coming out, there's nothing coming out on the 27th or whatever. So they didn't say this. I take that to mean that's probably it for December, right? Typically things slow down around the holidays. But you never know. I suppose there could be a third announcement. I guess we'll see. There's some pretty big titles in there. I want to hold off on what those are because one of them is my pick, my software pick this week, if we get to that.
Forget you saw that.
Yeah. Don't look at it. Look at it later.
Yeah.
And then two related news items that are not Xbox specific. Sony, of course, having spent the last year suing every company that tried to make a color cover of any kind for the PS5, has announced they're going to release color covers of their own. And they're coming out after the holidays, unfortunately. But starting in January, you will be able to buy pink, blue, and purple covers so you can replace the, I think it's like black and white color scheme of the default PS5 with something. Yeah, it's cool. It's nice. It's kind of, they've offered a couple of different colors in the controllers. Microsoft, of course, has Xbox Game Labs for the controllers, which is incredible. You can really have an incredible amount of customization there. So it's kind of nice to see. I'd like to see stuff like that for Xbox. And Google, in a bizarre announcement, really bizarre, they actually contacted me the night of the announcement before it came and gave me a really vague quote about what they were doing. And then they announced it, and there's really not that many more details. But what it boils down to is Google is bringing Android games from the Play Store to Windows in 2022. They're not going to be streaming. They're going to be locally installed. It's going to offer that kind of Xbox Play Anywhere type functionality where you can start a game on your phone, pick it up and continue on your PC, and then go back to your phone or tablet or whatever and play it from there again. So you'll have that kind of sign-in experience. But they very explicitly pointed this out multiple times. Not working with Microsoft on this. Microsoft played no role in this. This has nothing to do with any feature of Windows 11. We are doing this by ourselves. It's our store. You're not going to get the stuff from some other store. which kind of throws a little bit of cold water on the notion that maybe someday the Google Play Store will come to the Windows Store or the Microsoft Store, like the Amazon App Store has, or will come, I guess. So it's a little weird, but so why would they do this, right? I think that this is a part of Google's answer to what Apple's doing with iOS/iPadOS/macOS, where you can buy a game through their App Store or subscribe to it. They have the games. What's the game? They have a game service whose name is what? It's not Apple Play. Apple Play? What's it called? Apple Games Plus? I don't know. Whatever.
Arcade.
Arcade. Thank you. I knew it was something unusual. Anyway. And you can run.
It's iOS only. It's just, it's not.
Yeah. Well, except that you can play iOS games.
Can play it on
technically, right, on an iPad or a Mac,
and on a
right?
Apple TV. Yeah, I guess you can.
Yeah. So what does Google have for this, right? So you could play an Android game on a tablet, but nobody has an Android tablet. You could play it on a Chromebook, but very few people have Chromebooks. What else is out in the world? Well, Windows PCs, right? And so most Android users probably use a Windows PC. And I guess this is my guess, because they never said any of this, but my guess is this is their attempt to try to duplicate what Apple is doing across platforms with their own game stuff. So interesting and mysterious.
Kind of
I
like.
had people ask me, do you think this means that Google is going to bring either their store or more like business apps to the Microsoft Store? And I'm like, no.
They explicitly said
they are
not doing anything. Yeah, they are not doing anything with the Microsoft Store. Now that doesn't mean. I mean, it suggests that the Play Store will be made available on Windows, or at least part of it, right?
It's weird because didn't the new Microsoft Store say other stores can be in here? Why wouldn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They did say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they hate each other.
All right. I think they had this agreement, right, Google and Microsoft, where they were kind of like in a détente, and then that fell apart this year, right? And
I think it expired.
Ever since, ever since then, it's just been like, we're back to being enemies again. It's all good, right? Like,
these companies have almost identical robots running them. You think these guys would get together and plot the end of the earth or something, but these companies hate each other.
So strange.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, through the magic of video, Chris Capossela will join us, and this is very exciting.
Maybe next year you can join us from the metaverse in Teams.
Yeah.
That's actually. Don't laugh. I could see that.
Don't
happen.
laugh because it could happen.
Yeah,
Right.
totally see it happen. Meanwhile, let me talk a little bit about our sponsor for this segment. Our show today brought to you by UserWay. Because podcasts are audio and my radio show is audio, we have a lot of blind listeners, and I hear from them all the time. Number one complaint, accessibility. And there is the irony of this is there is a law. There is the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, and it's a requirement that any public entity, including websites, be fully accessible. It's just how it should be. Now, I know on the one hand, I think I'm absolutely this is absolutely has to happen, should happen, must happen. It's legally required, et cetera. On the other hand, as an owner of a business and many websites, I also think that's going to be a pain. That's going to be work and money. That's when UserWay stopped by. And man, this is a mind-boggling big win for everyone. Userway.org. Every website has to be accessible. UserWay has an incredible AI-powered solution that does it. One line of JavaScript, and suddenly you are completely compliant with the Web Content Access Guidelines. With one line of JavaScript, UserWay can achieve more than an entire team of developers. It is hard. It's overwhelming to make your website accessible, but you need to. You just need to. Fortunately, UserWay is here to make it easy. And by the way, very cost effective. First step, probably go to userway.org/twit, run the scanning tool to see if your site is ADA compliant. You'll be very glad to know that UserWay costs hardly anything. I mean, it's less than what we pay for the fonts on our website monthly. And it is also a very trusted solution. Over 1 million websites use UserWay. Coca-Cola, Disney, eBay, FedEx, Walmart, UNICEF. They all use it to make their sites more accessible. But now these best-in-class enterprise tools are available to small and medium-sized businesses at prices we can afford. It's just good business sense, too, because millions of users need UserWay just to purchase your products. And when you scale, don't worry. If it can handle, Disney, it can handle your site. UserWay's AI automatically fixes violations at the code level, adding to the accessibility layer in the browser so that when people come there, the accessibility layer makes it easy for them to navigate your site, to fill out forms, to use your shopping cart. All the images have alt tags so they can hear what you're seeing. It makes the website true to colors accessible without changing your brand. It doesn't change the hue, it just changes the saturation and luminance. And you'll get a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed. Plus, it's easy to work with the UserWay software so you can enhance it. You can add to it. You can make those alt tags even more descriptive. Completely platform agnostic. It works anywhere. WordPress, Shopify, Wix, AEM, Sitecore, SharePoint, completely compatible. Even with a hand-coded site, if you could put a line of JavaScript in, you're good. Let your business meet its compliance goals, improve the experience for your users, open your users to a brand new world, your world of accessibility. Just ask Susan Bennett, the voice of Siri, what she thinks of UserWay.
Hi, I'm Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri. You won't hear me say something like this too often. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're looking for. But every day, that's what the internet is like for millions of people with disabilities. UserWay fixes all of that with just one line of code.
UserWay can make any website fully accessible, fully ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It's a great way to show your commitment to millions of people with disabilities and to avoid lawsuits, too. Go to userway.org/twit. You'll get 30% off right now. UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. That's something we can really get behind. userway.org/twit. Go on there today. Now, let me see here. I think I heard a little commotion on the roof. I think somebody came down our chimney. Let me see.
The plate just crumbs?
The carrot is gone. The plate is crumbs. I think if I press the right button, Mr. Chris Capossela should emerge.
Yes.
Wait a minute. I got to move.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
Oh, and you are wearing the Minesweeper sweater. We were hoping you would.
Yes.
Yeah, had to do it.
That's
the Windows
awesome.
team
Also,
insisted I wear it. It's very hot in here right now.
Thank you for matching the background wall color that we all have. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
Chris joins us. We calculated it, Chris. This is your 7th appearance, 7 years in a row. Our holiday special with the Chief Marketing Officer at Microsoft. And before Paul and Mary Jo beat you up, I just want to say thank you for coming. You're very brave. Now I'm going to get out of here, and it's time for the Chris Cap show. And
I love it.
Paul and Mary Jo take over.
Great. Well, thank you for having me.
We're not going to beat him up.
No, I'm teasing.
And thank you for spelling my name right. It's a tough last name to spell.
We spent literally half an hour trying to figure it out.
Yep.
I think you've done a very good job over the years of getting it right, but I've had lots of people spell it wrong over the years.
So it's 1 P, 2 S's, 1 L.
Yeah, everyone wants to double the P's and double the L's.
Yeah.
And give me a single S.
It's Italian,
You got it.
right? Capossela, yeah?
Exactly.
It means the head of the salt. No, what does it mean?
I don't know.
Capossela. Anyway, welcome. It's great. It's really great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Obviously, it's been we got a lot to dig into. This has been a big year, needless to say, as I guess every year is. But I'm really happy to have the chance to be here. So thanks for sneaking me in for a little bit today.
Yeah, you bet.
Great. Now, we wanted you to start, like you always do lately, and talk about what you call hidden gems. Because we always get a few of these where you're like, these are things that didn't get as much press or a notice maybe, but we think they were a big deal.
Yeah, great. I'd love to do the hidden gems. And I'm going to try to keep it as tight as I can. I'm going to do 4 hidden gems, and I'm going to time myself and try to do them in 6 minutes.
Ooh,
and I picked them very carefully because I thought they would give you things to think about and perhaps talk about. So hopefully you'll enjoy them. And of course, hopefully your listeners will enjoy them. The first one is something we've been working on for 3 years and finally reached the world. And it's not a product, but on Monday of this week, my first hidden gem is this Xbox Power On, the story of Xbox sort of docu-series.
Oh, you ruined my tip.
Oh, I did? Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
No, it's okay.
Well, we've been funding this work for 3 years. Tina Summerford has done just a stunning job. This is like a 4.5 hour series. You can get it on YouTube or IMDb TV, Roku, Microsoft Movies.
It
and
is
TV.
fantastic, by the way.
Oh my gosh, she did the whole team did a stunning job. And the reason I pick it is because I think gamers will love it. But even if you don't love gaming, I did like how the team told a lot of the Microsoft mistakes. I mean, it does.
I'm really glad you said this because when I was going to use this as my tip, and what I was going to say was, Mary Jo, I know you're not into gaming, but given your knowledge of the history of Microsoft, you have to watch this documentary.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Cool.
And just watch the first episode. And if you don't say, oh my gosh, I want to watch the rest of it, I think
shocked.
you will.
Yeah.
And the team was very clear. Hey, if we make this, we're going to tell the whole story, and we're going to, there are going to be some warts that the world sees. And so I picked that one as that's hidden gem number one. Cool. Okay. Should we move on to number two?
Yeah.
Okay. Number two, hidden gem number two, and you're gonna think I'm crazy for picking this one because it's not particularly, but it goes nicely with the Xbox one. It's not that sort of glamorous.
If you want to keep them all Xbox focused, that'd be great. So.
I got a couple in there. The second one, which is a little bit more on a serious note, is the Microsoft Store policy changes we made. Happened. A bunch of them happened this year. And before the policy changes, we published a bunch of App Store principles back in October 2020. And we invited Android and sort of iOS to embrace them. And we said Windows, of course, needs to embrace them. These are the three big App Store ecosystems. Yeah. And we basically published a bunch of principles around fairness and innovation and greater opportunity, economic opportunity for developers. Satya is really on a mission around economic opportunity for creators and developers. And then we updated a bunch of the way that the Microsoft Store on Windows works. And the four I'll just call out, developers can finally bring basically any app store they want to the store. It can be a Win32 app, a PWA, a UWP, whatever framework they want to use, they can bring it to the store. App developers can bring their own commerce into our store. And if they bring their own commerce, where they're doing the commerce through their back end, through their app, then they keep 100% of the revenue and we don't take any of that revenue. Developers can bring their own browser engines to the store. Historically, stores have locked down to the engine that ecosystem wanted, and we've opened that up. And since then, Opera, Yandex, Mozilla, they've all come to the Microsoft Store on Windows. And then finally, and probably most importantly, the third-party storefront apps, are now can be discoverable from within the Microsoft Store. And of course, we announced that Amazon is bringing their Android App Store to Windows 11. Into Windows 10. We're very excited about that. And Epic, of course, has brought their App Store to ours as well. So you can search, deep link into their stores, go in their stores, et cetera. And I think foreshadowing, publishing principles for the industry, and then us walking the talk with our own implementation to those principles, I do think that's a very powerful blueprint for us to use. We did it with stores. I think it's an important, powerful blueprint for us to use in other places, and maybe we'll see more of that in the years ahead. So hidden gem number two, I know it's not sexy. People might be like,
I disagree. That was very sexy.
Okay, great. Great.
Yeah.
Can we ask you a question about the gems?
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
What about Google? And
so
them coming to the store. Is it like off the table or no?
Oh, no. I mean, obviously, if we say third-party store app fronts can be discoverable through the Microsoft Store, then great. Let's talk to any storefront that wants to come. I happen to notice news like, what was it, 2 days ago, Mary Jo? Recently, this week, I think, they said, hey, we're bringing an app that is going to bring games to Windows, and we were like, "Oh, okay." And obviously now we're gonna see what that looks like over time. But literally anybody who has that storefront, we want to talk to them about their willingness to bring it. And there'll be multiple levels of what it means to bring a store. Mm-hmm. With Amazon, we're doing deep work. So, you'll be able to search in our store and find things in their store. And there's, we're doing a lot of work on the flow. So you only have to enter your Amazon credentials once and all that stuff. So I don't think everyone will want to do the same amount of work, but yeah, it's not restricted to a particular storefront. And I think it's the only way for, these ecosystems to move forward in a healthy way. And as I said, Satya is just like creator, economic opportunity for creators on Windows, economic opportunity for developers on Windows. And you've heard him talk a little bit about it. So that was my number 2.
Okay.
Should I go to 3?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I think you might have hurt me a little bit on time, but I think I'm still within it.
That's not your fault. We interrupted.
We'll deduct that. We'll deduct that from the system.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Reset the clock to 2 minutes.
Add 13 seconds and to the clock.
Okay.
Starting now.
Hidden gem number 3 is accessibility with Surface and accessibility with gaming. We dedicated like 15 minutes of our Surface launch to the Surface Adaptive Kit, and we created this with this inclusive tech lab. We did it in partnership with people with disabilities, and as you guys know, there's these sort of keycap labels and bump labels and port indicators, and even this sort of device opener that we launched. And I didn't know how big a deal it would be. And our team said, this is going to be a bigger deal than you think. And I said, I'm not sure. It's like $15 of keycap labels. And of course they were right. And my lack of clarity was wrong. And it's become a big thing and an important thing. And more importantly, maybe even than the Surface Adaptive Kit, is this thing we introduced that most people actually have no idea about. We launched this thing called the Xbox Accessibility Testing Service, which is a service we provide to game developers to then partner with members of the disability community as they're building their game so that they can build a game that is more accessible out of the chute. And so for me, hidden gem number 3 is just this sort of accessibility in hardware, accessibility services for developers who want to build more accessible things. And I think that was a pleasant surprise for me. And then very few people have talked about the testing service that I think will be quite helpful for game devs. Yeah. And so I wanted to make that hidden gem number 3.
Yeah, we definitely talked about the Surface and the Adaptive Kit and the Xbox Adaptive Controller.
Yeah, that one was big.
But not the Surface. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Last one, Mary Jo. This is actually for all of you, but it's a special Mary Jo focused one. Nice. And this is, you're gonna, like, people are gonna laugh out loud, but you got to give me a minute. The hidden gem number 3 is Azure Digital Twins. And you're going to say, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about.
No, I know why. I know exactly why.
Exactly. Of course you do. Of course, which I said it would. And there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, if you don't know what the heck this is a set of services that we provide in our Azure cloud that enables, regular people to create digital models of basically anything physical. It could be a digital model of something simple, like a coffee cup, but it could be a digital model of something super complex, like an entire energy grid or a warehouse or a factory. And one of the reasons I chose it, in addition to the obvious foreshadowing to the metaverse, is the fact that one of the best customers we have that's using this is Anheuser-Busch, InBev. And since you guys always talk about beer, I said, I'm going to bring this to the show because what these folks have done is they've literally taken 200 breweries and they've created digital twins for every one of those breweries. And now their digital twins are literally a model of each of these breweries and the supply chain that feeds the brewery. And their twins are synchronized with the physical brewery. So the digital model is always live and up to date with what's happening in the physical brewery itself. And then their brewmasters, who you guys talk about sometimes, can adjust things based on these active conditions that they're seeing in the digital twin. So, I think there's a lot of discussion on the metaverse on the consumer side, which is awesome and excited to talk about that. But actually, there's a lot of companies who are sort of already creating their own, version of this using Azure Digital Twins. And I thought that was kind of a nice blend of consumer commercial. And so number 4 is the very commercial but beer-oriented Azure Digital Twins.
Nice.
AKA just like Mary Jo, very commercial but beer-oriented.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are they going to call it Microsoft Brew? Because that would be really a good name. But
no.
Hey, I think the chat room's saying in your very first gem, you neglected to mention the name of the story of Xbox. Power On, the story of Xbox.
I thought he did.
Maybe the chat room just missed
It's
it.
called Power On, the story of Xbox. Exactly.
Want to give that credit. You can find it everywhere. YouTube, Microsoft movies, everywhere. And it really looks good.
It's free.
I can't wait to see
and
it.
it's, like 3 years we had to find budget for this thing. Like I don't know if you know, corporate America, it's hard to budget over multiple years for something. And oh gosh, I'm just so glad.
Especially during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, there you go. Those are my 3 hidden gems.
Nice. Those are good.
That's great.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm done. Over to you guys.
All right, see you next year. Oh, wait. We have questions.
We have a few questions. We have some kind of open-ended questions and some pointed questions. But
go for it.
I want to kick it off with one about Windows 11 because I'm curious what you think about the reception and the pace of upgrading to Windows 11 is. And when I say you, I mean Microsoft, but you could say it from your own perspective because we have our own take of how we think it's going and how the launch went and how subsequently people have felt about it. But I want to hear what you think, like your analysis of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it to Amy Hood, our chief financial officer, to wait for the time to share actual numbers about momentum. But what I can say is a couple things. First, you might have noticed we're speeding up the rollout, and that was based on in terms of how many PCs we say, hey, you can upgrade to Windows 11, and so that's obviously a good piece of news in the sense that we think the technical rollout is going well. And so we sort of opened up the gates faster than we expected to. And I certainly like that. So that's one measure we're excited about. I would say that the retail and OEM reception has been quite good, which is something I care a lot about. Today at holiday, about 97% of PCs on retail shelves either have Windows 11 or are capable to upgrade to Windows 11 with the specs that are on shelves. And most big retailers are telling me, very early in 2022, despite all the supply chain issues, every machine they sell will be a Windows 11 machine. So the ecosystem has moved to 11 despite very difficult circumstances, and we're really pleased with that. I would say on the user front, there's 2 things I would say. One is we're seeing more interest from commercial customers than perhaps we had predicted, which is great. It doesn't necessarily mean sales change because a commercial customer can buy Windows 10 PC or Windows 11 PC. It's not a sales thing, but it is people seem to like the design. They seem to like the simplicity. I would say hardcore Windows fans, it's more of an update. It's more of an adjustment for them. They're missing their clock across multiple monitors. They're telling us they want to move the taskbar to the left of the screen or to the top of the screen. Some of the simplicity choices that we made, and Panos is very good at this, I think. Of course, we're hearing lots of feedback from what I'll call the power user of Windows 10 that they're missing some of those things, and they're telling us, hey, can you still bring some of those back even if you want to keep things simple and clean? And so we're listening to that feedback. And then I would say people who are more casual Windows users have had a much more, universally positive response on, wow, the design is beautiful and modern. And, I like the simplicity and that sort of thing. So that gives you a little bit of texture. I would say as a company, we're thrilled, but we know we have work to do. And I would say I'm really glad Panos is leading the charge. I spent a lot of time with him. We talk about all these things on a regular basis. And he's a very thoughtful person who, he's not a big bang type person. He's not like the day we launch Windows 11 is like we're done. For him, that's like day one. And he would say we're in the first inning of the Windows 11, American baseball game, which has 9 innings. And so I know he's very excited about 2022, and he has a lot of plans to make it better for all users. And so, I would say the leadership team, we're super pumped, but we're also humble that we know not every power user loves all the decisions we made.
Yeah.
So I assume you've heard some of the conversations we've had and others have had around Microsoft Edge and what's happening with default browsers and Windows 11 and so forth. I mean, how do you look at the Edge browser? Is there what's the value proposition there, for users, I guess, for customers? And I mean, what's your take on the controversies, the issues that, we and others have raised around Edge?
Yeah, totally. It's a great topic, and I'm glad to get the chance to talk about it. First of all, I guess I'm a glass half full person. And by that, I mean, boy, is it nice to have fans that like the browser and don't want us to screw it up. And by that, I'm, like if you went back 3 years, we were not in a position where people were saying, I like what you've done. Thank you. Don't make it big. Don't make it bloatware.
Right.
Don't add features I don't want. Like, don't you get it? You have a good browser. Like, so the first thing I look at is, wow, people actually care. And I'll take that. That's actually a dramatic change in position for the company from just 3 years ago. Or maybe it's 4 years ago. You can tell me the exact date, but it's somewhere in there.
3 years is about right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the meeting where we said we're going to write a new browser based on Chromium. And, we had to make that decision. And here we are. And people are saying, you've got a good browser based on Chromium. Don't screw it up. So I actually start with there. I love hearing that people love vertical tabs. I love hearing that people who shop a lot actually like the coupon work we've done. And I know not everyone shops a lot, and so they don't like the coupon work we've done. I like the security. I think we've built a compelling browser that not everybody, but a bunch of people are saying, I actually like this and I use it all the time. And so I start there. There's no doubt that we heard the feedback loud and clear that you've got to make it simpler for someone to just flip their default browser, and don't give me the super granular control on all these tiny little file extensions. And come on, just make it simpler. So Windows 11 Inside Preview build, you guys know it, 22509, which is now released to the dev channel. It's super simple to just flip that browser to what you want. And so I'm glad we're listening to that feedback. And again, it's one Panos and I talk about very frequently. Another reason I'm a glass half full person is because I know Satya and I know Panos and I know the leadership team, and I know we want to listen to the feedback and make sure we're building on something that is strong. I think there's also been a bunch of feedback around what some people call ads, what I actually don't call ads, because for me, an ad is something somebody gives you money for, and it's a marketplace, and you bid on the ads, and whoever bids highest gets the ad spot, and in the ad goes. But I think what you often call ads, I refer to as essentially in-product promotion, in-product notification. And I don't mean to be pedantic, but I do want to make sure that someone who listens, we don't sell ads. There's no ad marketplace to get a spot on the Windows lock screen. That Windows lock screen is sacred to us. We test the heck out of the image that we put on that lock screen. We flight tons of different images to tons of different cohorts. If you're a gamer, we're going to do something different with the start menu than if you're not a gamer. And so we're trying to figure out ways to make the Windows experience highly, highly engaging. And I know not everybody loves in-product notifications that suggest that you use this Adobe product because we think you're a photography lover, or you use Clipchamp because we think you're a video, you want to edit video. But it is important for us to drive engagement. We do think engagement drives long-term satisfaction with Windows, and that's important. We're not going to get it right every time. We're hearing the feedback, believe me. When people say, gosh, I hate the way you've done this, or I hate the way you've done that. Sometimes it's around in-product notification. Sometimes it's around a feature that we've added that they think should be an extension and not a feature. And those aren't the same thing. Those are two different types of feedback to us. But we're listening. We're trying to be incredibly data-driven. You can see changes in insider preview builds. We're not going to do everything everybody asks, because when you make a pizza for 1 billion people, you can't make everybody happy, which is sort of what we try to do with Windows and hopefully with Edge. Sure. So that's a lot I'll throw at you. Let me pause and see if you have any reactions to those thoughts.
Well, I understand. I mean, it's all understandable, and I get it. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds around very specific behaviors, but even in the Insider program, when you switch your default browser, you're still pushing Edge in certain circumstances.
Right. Yeah. I can talk about that too if you want.
I don't mean to push you into something super specific, because I know you're not the product guy or whatever, but what's the justification from? Yeah, I don't know if it's from a business standpoint or just a marketing, how do you handle the fact that people have made a specific browser choice, but you're circumventing that in some cases?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And it's always interesting for me to hear how marketing, how powerful people think marketing is. It's awesome.
Make it a positive, Chris. Wow. That's what I'm looking for.
I just like, oh, that's so good. I didn't know I didn't know the small number of marketers wielded so much power at this company. In general, I mean, just to give you an inside scoop, in general, if it's a in-product decision, that's usually being made by an engineering leader, like someone like a Panos or, a Scott Guthrie or, an engineering leader. If it's something like the notifications of, the lock screen in Windows or something like that, that in-product surface area programming, that's typically something that is driven by marketing, just in case you care. The ones you're talking about are definitely ones that the product team, we've essentially said, look, when somebody has a particular experience in Windows, we want to know that Windows experience is Windows soup to nuts, start to finish, so we can have control over what that consumer experience is. That's not a marketing statement of, hey, we're going to drive more revenue if someone views a help topic in Edge instead of what they've chosen as their default browser, or the widgets that are built into Windows, if you click on those. That's literally us saying we think the curated experience is going to be better, soup to nuts, for things that are built into Windows, like the widgets or the news feed, compared to somebody who wants to pin the Chrome browser or the Firefox browser to the taskbar and browse the internet with that browser. And we want the user to be in control of that. Now, what's the edge? Sorry, bad pun. What's the right line? What's the right line? That is a totally good, debatable topic for when is it something that we should curate soup to nuts, and when should it be something that, no, when somebody selected this video editor, anytime they do these 17 things, that should just be the default video editor they selected. And we won't get that right for everybody, but it is an area where we'll listen and keep updating and keep modifying. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the specifics of Edge, of the Edge soup to nuts one.
That's good. I have a question about your comment on the pizza, making the pizza for 1 billion people or whatever. Yeah. Right? So what if, instead of thinking that way, you guys said, hey, like what happened with the Kindle, if you're willing to pay not to see ads or house
or
ads
notifications,
or whatever, right, you could actually pay us X amount of money and we'll take those away. Do you ever consider that, or?
Yeah, we do. In fact, I don't even know that paying is we've tried to actually make those notifications things that you can control. And, but yeah, of course, the free to play gaming model essentially says, here's a game you play, and every 5 minutes we're going to put an ad in it. And if you want to pay us $5, we'll get rid of the ads. And a lot of game developers do that. Do I love that notion for an operating system? I don't love that notion for an operating system. I prefer the notion of us getting it right, of you don't even notice. When I go to Netflix.com, I know they're programming the heck out of that homepage. Mm-hmm. When I go to the Xbox Dash, we all know we're programming the heck out of that dashboard. Mm-hmm. And we want to get the experience to feel like that, where you don't say, hey, there's some notification to watch the Netflix movie that Netflix obviously wants me to watch, and it doesn't bother me because I love action movies. And there's The Rock and yet another action movie. It's right there on the home tab.
I knew exactly what movie you meant.
Right?
when you first brought that up.
No one's confused. That's not going to win an Oscar, but they put it there. And they built it, and they're going to promote what they think is going to let me keep coming back to Netflix. And so, Mary Jo, we could technically do it, but I think we kind of feel like, maybe that's not the design we're going for, where someone has to pay us more money. Instead, let's give them control over the notifications, and let's make the lock screen delightful. And something that people actually love to use. But you're right, it's technically totally possible. Do we speak about it? Honestly, not much. There isn't like a movement inside the company to say, hey, let's charge people to turn off annoying stuff. It's more, how do we get rid of the annoying stuff? Yeah. Kindle's done a nice job, I think. I don't know if you've used a Kindle recently, but they have an ad-funded... They have sort of an ad-funded SKU, but they're not, it's reasonable. You unlock it and there's an ad, okay, then you go. But they're not putting an ad in front of me every 5 pages that I turn the book.
Right.
And those are ads, by the way. Those are pay for ads. You can buy those. Yeah. I can buy that slot if I want to. Mm-hmm. What else? Keep coming. We're running out of time.
Let's go back to Xbox.
Okay.
What about the console shortage? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel or whatever? I mean,
God, it's darkest.
It's literally a year later.
It's darkest inside the company, just so you know. I think.
Why do you hate Xbox fans, Chris?
I think one of these shows, Mary Jo might have asked me, like, is this a marketing tactic of keeping supply low?
Last year I wondered that. I did.
Yeah, it's like, God, it really.
You got to think a year later, it's like, no, they just can't sell it. They can't get it.
It really isn't. It really isn't. Here's what I would say for people who are just infuriated with us. We're infuriated too. If it was only a single pinch point, if it was only the AMD chip, that would make life easier. There are multiple component shortages, which makes things complicated. And then, believe it or not, there's a bunch of ships sitting in sitting in ports that are just stuck. And so, you can imagine how infuriating it is. We're paying for things to be moved around the planet, flown, shipped, and there are some, and they're right over there on the water, and we can't even get them in the darn port to get them. So it's frustrating. I will say that throughout the holiday period, there have been little bursts of S and X. We're seeing a little more S than we are X, which is helpful. Retailers are trying to meter these out at different buying windows. So if you haven't gotten one for Christmas or for holiday, you will see some retailers that are just waiting, and they're going to, open up the doors, and there's still be some that will be purchased. But if you ask me, hey, when will this get better? I wish it would be soon, and we don't think it's going to be terribly soon. And that's frustrating because there are all these different choke points. Don't blame AMD. There's not one thing to blame. There's multiple choke points with the supply chain challenges that the world is having. So we're just trying to gut it out, do everything we can. I would say, I'm a marketer. Game Pass lets you stream to any device that you might already own. So if you can't get a console, but you already have a PC or an iPad, or, you can give someone Xbox Game Pass and they can stream hundreds of games to a device they might already own. It's not the same. I get it. Unwrapping a little card isn't as fun as unwrapping like a console. I get it.
Yeah, but if you want to just play Halo, right? I mean, that's something we haven't talked about, but I did play that over Xbox, cloud gaming.
There was a really cool tweet. There's a really cool tweet for someone who's not like a Microsoft fan. They were using a random random controller that's not an Xbox controller, and I think maybe a second tier or third tier Android phone, and they had a controller connected to it, and they were streaming Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 to this thing, and they were like, "Damn, this actually works." And so you're right. I mean, there is another way to give gaming gifts that aren't consoles, but we're super frustrated. We hate that our fans can't buy them, and we share the frustration.
Chris, I know you have a hard out.
Very depressing. That's a very depressing answer, Paul.
It's up to Chris. It's up to Chris.
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go.
Okay. I think it was one of the very first times you were on Windows Weekly. You talked about you really wanted to turn more users into fans.
Yeah.
Right. And so that means to me winning over not just business users who you already have pretty much kind of locked in, but
we have a strength.
Also consumers.
We have a strength.
You have a very, okay, not lock in is a tough word, but what about consumers, right? So my question is, if you were going to give yourself a report card this year and say, how have we done in turning consumers into fans? What grade would you give yourself?
That's such a good question. I think, let's see, an overall grade would probably, I'll give us I'll be a tougher grader. I'll give us a B- overall as a company, C+, B-. Now, why do I say that? It's important to have a high bar. I think in the gaming world, I'd honestly give us an A- because I can't be so arrogant to give us an A. But I think when you look at what we've done with gaming, wow, it's just been a blockbuster year. Our first party games, I think, have exceeded expectations. Age of Empires. YouTube just announced today that Minecraft has been viewed 1 trillion times. We've crossed the trillion barrier on YouTube. Like Minecraft content has now been viewed on YouTube more than any other IP on YouTube, including like, Justin Bieber and Katy Perry and like everything you could possibly imagine. And it's mind blowing. So like gaming, I really would say the company's just had a phenomenal year. But I think Windows 11 is an important step, but it's not everything. We're not done. The Teams consumer experience we shipped, I want more. I want better. So it's it's an important step. We bought a company called Clipchamp. I'm really excited to have video editing be something on Windows that's delightful. But buying the company doesn't change, it doesn't like make it into 5, 10, 20, 50 million people using it. I'd give us a mixed rating, but I think we've laid the foundation for a lot of good things to come. And if at the end of the day you had to average up your A- in gaming with lower scores in other places, I would say, let's average it out to whatever, a B, B-, C+. But, I step back and I say, look, who can do a better job keeping consumers entertained on a console, on a PC, on a phone than Microsoft? We should do the best job. Who could help consumers thrive in their education, literally their education, like going to school? We should be doing a fantastic job with Windows and Microsoft 365 and Surface. Who should do a better job at connecting with their friends and family? Apple does a wonderful job as long as it's all within Apple. But who can do it across Apple and Android and Windows and Mac? Gosh, that should be us. Who should make shopping a safe, delightful experience on the internet? That should be us. We have the ability to execute. I think we can do more for consumer creators than we've done, and it's why I'm so excited about Clipchamp. We help people build new worlds with Minecraft. Like, we have a lot of the pieces, and I remain very bullish that gaming won't be the only place where we can do, true A-level work. And I hope that 21 lays the foundation for, 22, 23 to have that B- or C+, move up quarter over quarter over quarter.
Chris, it's been a short but very pleasurable experience having you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I don't want to throw you out, but I know you had to make time for us, and
you don't have to go home, Chris. You just can't stay here.
Exactly.
But it is closing time, and
exactly.
Chris Capossela,
thank you for having me.
It's so
Happy
great
holidays.
to have you, Chief Marketing Officer at Microsoft.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to press the button. You're going to disappear back up the chimney, where you
into
came.
the metaverse.
Make sure you keep the
the
ring
metaverse,
here.
exactly.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Whoa, look at that. He's disappeared. It's an amazing thing.
That's a nice little swipe. Do you get that?
That's pretty cool, huh?
Swipe.
We apparently got trained professionals here. Who knew? So, So
he's always great. And by the way, I believe if you go to YouTube today, their logo is that 1 trillion number, and I think that's for Minecraft.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's
it is.
That's all the Minecraft videos together, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But still, that's an amazing number. And YouTube certainly made a lot of money on Minecraft.
Yeah.
Sure
So
remember when they bought it, everybody was like, why are they buying Minecraft?
Microsoft did the right thing, totally. I'm talking about YouTube. I mean, that's the funny thing about the YouTube business is, they can make money off of creators making Minecraft videos. And in $1 trillion is a lot.
It is.
I also am always impressed, and I think this must be Chris's superpower, because he could take anything negative and make it sound like, he can turn it, it's...
We couldn't have more different outlooks on life, the two of us, than,
He's the anti-Paul Thurrott.
He really is. And he's, and I say that with great respect. You don't want to be like me. It's good.
It's really, interesting. And he does a very good job of, he's very persuasive, very good job of convincing you.
He's always fantastic.
It also reminds me that there's a very different narrative about what we observe going on from the outside than what he and others observe going on from the inside. That what we what we might attribute to malice or greed is completely unrelated to what's going on inside. And we both have our points of view from where we stand, but
that's right. And I should just so people understand too, because I know there are going to be people who say, "Oh, I didn't push him hard enough on something," or "He didn't," You got to understand, Microsoft's a humongous company, and he doesn't single-handedly walk around to product groups and tell them what to do.
It's not his fault, man.
You know, he didn't.
He made that
come
point.
up with the idea.
Yeah.
He did. You know,
yeah, he made that point. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
But this, you know, but there's always going to be that kind of thing. You know, well, they implemented that UI in the first place, kind of thing. Yeah, they did. They did. He didn't. You know, I mean, I don't know that we'll be able to get to the person or people that came up with this and really ever figure out the why of it or whatever. But yeah, it's important. I think the thing he brings, which is so important, is just the kind of high-level strategic way that Microsoft looks at Windows and Edge in that case. And I think it's helpful to hear that. Because I think a lot of, like you brought up the subscription, the notion of I'll pay you to get rid of this stuff. And he's like, you know, we just would rather not make it not terrible, you know, like make it less annoying. That would be better, wouldn't it? And that's kind of what you want to hear. Not that, oh, good, there's another revenue source. We'll make Windows so terrible people will pay us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think that's we could do the back of the book. I think we should save it for next week.
Yeah, we could
Since
save it
we're
for
going to
next
be
week.
bereft probably of stories. We
That's
won't have
true.
any
Okay, but
Microsoft executives to fill
Let
time.
me just bring up. Let's go bring up one thing real quick. I did, like I said when Chris was on, I did want. Okay, no, I'm sorry.
Do it.
Oh, I do think anyone who's not interested in gaming but cares about Microsoft should still watch this Power On thing. It's very, very good. But we didn't bring up one story. There was a big issue with Android and Teams where if you had Teams involved in a certain situation, you couldn't dial 911. So the app has been updated to fix that problem. But the workaround to this is to make sure you're signed into Teams. Because apparently this only happened when you had Teams installed but you weren't signed in. But the fix, of course, is just to update the app. So if you go to, long press on the Play Store, go to all apps, update your apps, you'll get that update. It's out. So that's been fixed. But that was, and Burke brought this up. Yes.
But now, once they fixed it, you can't sign out of Teams on Android.
It's right. You're fixed. So good night, everybody.
Right. So I deleted it immediately. I deleted Teams.
Oh, you can
because
delete
of
Teams
that.
too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I deleted
Yeah,
Teams.
you want to be able to
because I'm
dial
like,
911 with your phone. Kind of important.
No,
But you
so
also
their
want your
fix
workplace
is
to be able to reach you 24 hours a
can.
day.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have Teams on all the time. And I'm like, so that's a terrible fix, right?
Unless you need Teams.
I don't need Teams as much as I need it not to be
there
on
was an
all the
awesome
time.
moment of silence while you contemplated this
Well,
terrible.
this has been fixed now, though, right? I mean, this is fixed now, or no?
It's not really
fixed, but the fix is you have to remain signed in.
That's a
You have to
workaround.
stay in
That's not a
Teams
fix.
all the time.
That's not a fix. That's a workaround. So,
No, it's
well,
okay.
It's-
Yeah, I
It's
can't.
a fix if you don't mind Teams being on all the time.
yeah. So just to
Well,
be,
it's not on all the time. They have a background service that because it's polling Teams for activity.
what you're telling me is if you want to dial 911 on your Android phone, you need Teams running,
I'm telling you that
Or you
Teams
just delete
or
Teams.
no Teams at all. But
Yeah.
Teams is endangering your life. Is what
But
I'm
if I download, I'm not going to try it, but if I download Teams but don't log into it, if I download on my Android phone, I will no longer be able to use emergency
It's not 100%
services?
of the time. I don't understand the combination of factors.
as long as
that-
it's not 100% of the time, just once in a while.
Just when
Look,
you
if you're having
really
an emergency,
need it.
here's what to do. If you're having an emergency and 911's not working, then delete Teams. But until then,
I'm having a heart attack. I'm dialed 911. I can't get
what
through.
is he saying? He said uninstall Teams. What's he talking about?
Okay. Guess I'm not going to put Teams on my Android phone. I
had Teams on there, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't uninstall Teams.
So there isn't a fix. In other words, there should be a version of Teams that just sits there and doesn't do anything.
But okay,
No?
I thought it was fixed. My understanding is it was fixed.
That sounds like a workaround.
Yeah, I think the fix is you can never log out of Teams. I think that's what they consider the fix to be.
Well, they're going to have problems because, people are going to die, and then it's on you, Teams. I don't that you got to fix that. That's not optional to fix.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I the other day I took the update to Teams on Android. Then I'm like, okay, how do I log out? I can't. I literally cannot log out.
Okay. You shouldn't be able to do anything to your phone that makes 911 not work. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Right.
That should be a principle.
I mean,
in fact, you don't have to be logged into your phone. You don't even have to have a SIM. 911 by federal law works.
Right. It comes up automatically. Right.
Unless you have Teams.
I don't know. I may be wrong about this, but I could not find a way
Paul's
to
hung up on us now. I don't
He
know.
left. He's like, I don't know
I
what
don't
they're
want to
talking
talk about
but,
it.
like,
I don't care. All right.
I brought it up, and I wish I had not brought it up.
Wow. We'll have to do some research on that one.
I know, because Jarno is saying in Discord that, no, they fixed the bug in Android is fixed. Okay, if that's true, that's good. But I still am curious if you can log out of Teams in Android.
It was an Android bug, not a Microsoft bug. I don't see how that could be either, because
I don't either.
it seems like Teams
Because
is
it's the
involved.
only app where it does it, right? I know. It's the only app that seems in combination with 911 that makes that happen. So, yeah.
You know what they say, the difference between being involved and being committed. At breakfast, the chicken is involved, the pig is committed. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah.
We haven't, I think Paul's having some technical difficulties because he's apparently still logged into Zoom. Either that or he threw his headset down and stormed out. I don't know. But you know what? This would be a good time to wrap the show up anyway.
He said his internet service just went down completely.
Yeah, something bad happened. Sorry about that. Next week is the 22nd. We will be doing a show. Be the last show of the year. The following week, it's a best of Windows Weekly. We've collated some of the best bits from the year. We might even have to throw in a Chris Capossela. I'm having a feeling. But we will see you next week. Mary Jo Foley. Allaboutmicrosoft.com, ZDNet blog. If Paul's internet ever comes back, you'll find him at thurrott.com. And, of course, the field guide to Windows 10 at leanpub.com. And we do this show every Wednesday. It's a little disorienting because I'm seeing myself. Maybe if I press the Q button.
The other window.
No, that really makes it bad. Okay, let's.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah.
I'm
There's
seeing
just
myself.
many. I see 3 Leos. Right?
Yeah. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC. If you want to watch us do it live, so you get to see all the stuff that we, like that, you can tune in on the internet at live.twit.tv. There's live audio and video streams there. People who watch live often chat live at irc.twit.tv. That's our free chat room. Club Twit members can chat in the Discord. That goes on year-round. In fact, Mary Jo Foley's Ask Me Anything is in our Twit Plus feed over there. You also get ad-free versions of all the shows, by the way, and you can find more information about that, including corporate memberships. This is the time of year to do that. We have at least one company now whose IT team gets all of our shows ad-free. Thanks to that. Just go to twit.tv/club-twit. On-demand versions of all of our shows are at the website, twit.tv. In the case of Windows Weekly, twit.tv/ww. There's a Windows Weekly YouTube channel. All of our shows have their very own channel. Of course, the main Twit channel is youtube.com/twit. There's links there as well. And the best thing to do, probably subscribe. That way you'll get it every Wednesday afternoon after we're done. Automatically, just go to your favorite podcast client and press the subscribe button. And if it allows you to leave reviews, do us a favor. Leave us a 5-star review. Tell the world how great Paul and Mary Jo are. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Android is constantly evolving, and if you're part of the Android faithful, then you'll be just as excited about it as I am. I'm Jason Howell, host of All About Android, along with my co-hosts Florence Ion and Ron Richards, where every week we cover the news, we cover the hardware, and we cover the apps that are driving the Android ecosystem. Plus, we invite people who are writing about Android, talking about Android, and making Android onto the show. Every Tuesday at twit.tv, look for All About Android.